Greetings, class. I'm here to go over the essay that's called Illegal and Not Undocumented. I think that's the name of it. But anyways, it talks about, I think it's an important topic, and I'm trying to show as many different sides of this topic as I can. I have my own views of this topic, but I'm trying to moderate and give you guys a lot of different arguments, and I'm trying not to be a biased teacher. I'm trying really, really hard to do that. And I think this is a good topic, and it doesn't get addressed too often, but it talks about Social Security fraud and having your identity stolen. And usually if I was in class, I would say, how many of you guys have ever had your identity stolen? And usually a couple of students will raise their hands. And I think that's scary. That's scary. We also watched a 60 Minutes video that talks about how easy it is to get access to your information. I know that in that video, they had a college professor who told their students to go across campus and take pictures of people. And from those pictures, people were able to find out who they were, their names, their address, in some cases, their social security number. So I think we as people are very vulnerable. And I think that's important. And I think that it's scary. I know that recently I had to get a new debit card because somebody tried to purchase $280 of something on Amazon. And so I had to to redo it. And I think right now, in an era where our economy is in trouble, I think we see more social security fraud and more identity theft. So I think this is a good topic. I think it's timely. Also, the essay talks about how undocumented immigrants take identity. And what that means is that if you come here, it's hard to get a job if you don't have a social security number. So what you might do is you might just make one up and file, right? You might make one up. Or there are people who steal social security numbers, and you could buy a social security number from somebody and open up a checking account and things like that under their name. Now, this essay points at undocumented immigrants who are doing this, and it does make sense that they would do this, but let's be clear, it's not just undocumented immigrants who do this, it's a lot of people who do this, because basically you could get a lot of money. So I don't think it's quite fair that the essay just focuses on undocumented immigrants. And some of their examples, we're not exactly sure if undocumented immigrants did this or somebody else. But I think one thing that I find fascinating about this essay is how many children have their identity stolen. I think that's scary. So essentially, if you're a child, you may be, you don't know, you're not allowed to get credit cards and things like that until you're 18 years old. And what they're finding is that some people are stealing children's identity. They're taking their social security number and things like that. So imagine being 18 years old and you owe $200,000 in debt, right? That you never spent because you've never had credit. And I think that's scary. I think that's a scary idea. I think a couple things to make, though, and it goes back to the idea of undocumented immigrants. A lot of times parents do this to their children, which I know is crazy, but we live in an economy that's hard right now, and it's been hard for a while. So if you're a parent and you're trying to buy your child food and clothes, and it happens where people steal children's identity. And I think that this is kind of a side topic, but I find this fascinating that a lot of our news stories in our country really focus on fear. I think a lot of us are afraid of killer bees. We're afraid of sharks. How many people have been attacked by a shark? How many people do you know have been attacked by a shark? It's rare. How many people do you know died in an airplane crash or have ever been in an airplane crash? It's very rare for that to happen. And I know around Halloween, I know that we have parents who check their children's candy for glass and poison and things like that, and we unwrap it to make sure it's safe. But there have only been a handful of cases of children being poisoned through Halloween candy, and most of the time it's been the children's parents who are doing that. So I think that's the roundabout way of saying it's easy to point fingers at other people, but a lot of times there's more to the story. I think one of the strongest things in this essay is on page 5. They have a lot of strong examples, and I could see why this would make people mad or upset. There's an example of a woman who, she tried to go to Target and get a job, but she couldn't because one of the people there were already using her social security number. So it's like you go for a job, you're applying, you're trying to get work, and you find out you're already working at Target because somebody stole your social security number. I think that would be very frustrating, and I get that. And in this case, it was an undocumented immigrant, I believe, who did that. In another case, in the next paragraph, it says a man whose social security number was used to obtain unemployment in 3 states was told the IRS that he owed $64,000 in unpaid taxes, in spite of the fact he had just been incarcerated. He'd been incarcerated in a state penitentiary during the time the income was earned. So imagine this: you get out of prison, you're trying to get your life together, and you find out you owe $64,000 because somebody stole your social security number. So I think that would be very frustrating. Again, in this situation, we don't know if it's an undocumented immigrant. And they have other stories about a guy who owed $340 in parking tickets and things like that. So I can see this can be very frustrating for people. I can see this being very, very scary for people as well. Also, I think I didn't provide the whole essay because this essay is like 20 pages long. But if you look up the title, you could find it on the internet. One of the later pages says this, that it seems like we could fix a lot of this. So, for example, if somebody else is using your social security number, it's not like the social security services call you and say, you know what, somebody's using your number. It seems like if we have more oversight, then we could stop a lot of this. And it's not like if somebody files taxes under your name, it's not like the IRS says, you know what, somebody else is using your social security number. So the IRS could see what's happening, that other people are using your social security number. There's websites and things like that where people are logging in with your social security number. And if we had more oversight, it seems like a lot of this could be stopped. I think if the Social Security Service took more responsibility and reported your social security number was being used by somebody else, that would stop a lot of this. This could fix the problem. And I also think that if the IRS was reporting to you that, hey, somebody else filed under your taxes, instead of just trying to take money from two people, I think that would fix a lot of things. So I like this essay. I think it's great. It has so many good points. And I think I'm trying to show more liberal and conservative arguments for your essay in case you wanted to use it. I think this essay could work really well in paragraph 4, possibly 5 as well. So I hope this helps. Thank you for listening.